Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the it is?
Aries and Andy, chewing the jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut coke. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was sucking on your mama's.
Ariesspears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism,
much love to my loyal bag holders,
rollers, loaders.
we got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Do
you sound all right?
I think it sounds pretty good.
They called that out here for you to do.
Did they? Stallone?
Yeah. Well, not Stallone. I was thinking Italian.
Tony.
Yeah, the Tony.
Yeah, somebody did it last week too.
Yeah. Well, Tony. You know, there's a lot of Italians out in Ohio, though. Like
Is
Cleveland's
there?
supposed to have some really good Italian food.
Well, we know that because our boy comes and sees us. to
Yeah,
gives us
yeah.
The desserts, the pastries.
Yeah, the pastry guy.
Fuck a pastry. I like pastries. I love pastries. Boy, Dean Edwards. We're not recording. Are we? Oh, we're official.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hey. Oh, that's two.
What? Yeah, that's going too.
Holy. Okay. I'm glad I caught myself. I'm glad I caught myself. Hello, folks. Hello. So maybe a while back, you guys remember there was this documentary we wanted to talk about. And we just, other things came up that just kind of bumped it. It's ironic because in the documentary, this guy, Sean Ellis, is locked away for 22 years for a crime he didn't commit. So, after appeals and, the process, things just get pushed back. So I'm saying that to say we had some appeals that were denied. So that's why we didn't talk about it when we said we were going to. But awesome documentary on Netflix called For Trial. Is it For Trials or For Trial?
Yeah, I got it right here. Let me pull it up. And Trial 4.
Oh, look, I'm way off. I thought it was called For Trial. Okay, no, it's called Trial 4. And it is the story about a young black man who goes by the name of Sean Ellis, who was framed and wrongly convicted for a crime he did not commit of killing a Boston cop. And he was not acquitted, there was a mistrial in the first two trials. And they got him in the third trial, which is baffling to me, which is a question I'm going to ask you, because that's actually in my notes. And then his fourth trial, he was finally exonerated, hence the name Trial 4. Guys, please check this out. It's awesome. It's I don't know if I want to, what's the right word here? It's reminiscent of the other thing we talked about from HBO about the Jon Stewart case. The one out of Boston, and that thing was like what, 3 episodes? I think 4, maybe
3 or 4.
Three. This one is 8. But please check it out.
It needs all 8.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get right into the meat and potatoes, and so there's no appetizers. So this thing opens up in episode 1 where the judge, and it's kind of like they do I don't know, like a Quentin Tarantino in a sense, where they give you the ending first, almost, and then they dive into the very beginning. But it's the judge, and she's basically saying to him, in no way, shape, or form, I recognize that this case has been tainted. You deserve a new trial. You didn't get a fair trial. But at the same time, I don't want to put any stench on some of the officers that handled this case. I don't want to say anything that puts them in a bad light. And my note off the top was how amazingly offensive the system is when a judge can openly admit that a case was handled poorly and could put a man in jail for 22 years while at the same time not wanting to taint the reputation of the cops who up.
Okay. And I basically felt the same way you did when I heard it, without the context of everything that was about to happen. But I only think this because I'm watching some of the Trump stuff go on right now. And I think what the judge is avoiding is saying that this trial is tainted and therefore, and set it for a retrial. And then if you say it the wrong way, or if you say it in a leading way, that means that anyone who hears that, who might be on the next jury, is automatically going to say it's been a f***ed up case. They've set him up. They put him this way. There's no reason to have the second jury if that's what another case if that's what they're going to do, because she has already said that nothing that the police department or any of the prosecutors have put out is valid anymore. I think she rides a line, and I agree with you, because when I heard it without the rest of this, I was like, that sounds like she's saying, I'm not going to exonerate you. One, you are going to get another trial, but I'm not putting anything on the police because I still think it almost sounds like you're still guilty. Right? Is that how you kind of took it?
Yes.
But if she says, but you're not guilty, then there's no reason to have the trial. I think what she said, there was errors in the trial. There's a reason for you to get a new trial, but I can't say all this other stuff is out, because if I do, what's the purpose of having the retrial?
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. What I'm getting is, whether the system, the politics, the politicians, the cops, they all stand together. Even, it's like they don't want to take any accountability and just flat out say, we're wrong.
Well, if they would have said that, though, then there's no trial. Then we're wrong. I'm going to remove the guilty verdict and you are free to go. That's what would have had to taken place. I think she was riding the line. And this is only because I'm watching how they're talking right now with what's going on with Trump. They talk in a way that says it's a little ambiguous. I'm allowing the new trial. I can't say this is wrong. I can't say this is wrong. All I can say is some things were mishandled and we need to pursue. We need to move forward. Otherwise, if she said the police are wrong, everybody's wrong, but it's the way she said it. I'm going to give you, and I got to go back to that. I understand the legal aspects of saying, I can't put this on the police because then that automatically puts the police at a place where there's no reason to have a retrial, because I just said that all their evidence is tainted. She has to walk it into that middle line. But the way that she did say it, I don't want to put anything on, and I don't remember exactly how she said it. We did see this a while ago. The way she said it, almost made it feel like she was, the reason I didn't like how she said it, it almost made it feel like felt like her hand was forced to have this retrial, and that she still agreed with the evidence. That's what I didn't like.
Well, it wasn't forced because it was up to her. She could have easily said no.
But it felt like it was like...
It felt like she was doing the right thing in the name of justice. But at the same time...
Not agreeing with it.
Because they got to stick together. They got to uphold each other.
I can't argue that point, but I do feel, after watching some of this other things and how they spoke on these verdicts or these motions,
right.
They never want to say one way or the other because that's up to the jury. That's the only thing I've noticed about this. But when I first heard it, I got the same feeling you did. And then as I watched and saw what's unfolding right now, I kind of went, oh, maybe that's their way of doing this. But it does sound like she was a little leaning towards a different way.
There's a call back to this moment, not necessarily just with her, but when I say politicians, the prosecutors, cops, like I say, they all live in the same pool. There's a moment at the very end of this, matter of fact, in episode 8, when he finally is exonerated, that I want to call back to in regards to what I'm talking about here. And this was even more to the that. All right, but so at one point in the first episode, they interview the cop who's killed is Officer Mulligan. They interview his brother, and his brother, obviously, of course, believing that this guy did it, is like, the guy's a savage, and blah, 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 and says all the things that, a family member would say against an animal, should he be an animal. But then later, even once the guy's exonerated, they interview him again, and he still believes what he believes. And I'm just going... I wish, well, obviously he believed what he believed, so he wasn't going to do it. But at one point I'm going, if the brother, and I got to imagine the family is watching this doc, if he sees this, at no point would he go, holy shit, they put an innocent kid in jail for 22 years. He didn't kill my brother. Let me say on camera, I apologize to Mr. Ellis, da-da-da-da-da-da. But he still believes that the guy did it. And I'm just going, what's so mind-blowing is not only if you watch this, do they show you that the guy didn't do it, but then on top of that, you learn that, your brother was dirty. Your brother was a dirty cop. And I'm going, is it because it's your brother that stops you from going, I don't want to admit that my brother was dirty. I don't want to admit that my brother fucked prostitutes on the streets. I don't want to admit that my brother robbed drug dealers and kept the money. I don't want to admit that this black guy didn't kill my brother. The fact that it's your brother, that's stopping you from the truth?
Well, partially, yes. The other thing, though, is, yes. It's all yes, 100% yes to what you just said. Because in the case, they only make one or two connections back to the other guy. So the brother can go, well, he might have done something wrong once or twice, but this wasn't what who he was.
Right.
And that's what they that's one of the things that they leave in this doc, that there is some shady stuff going on. There is some dirty cops in this, but the connection between the two, they leave that a little bit in a gray area.
With Mulligan.
With Mulligan, with the guy that got killed. They make it sound like he might have had a little something to do, but he wasn't like one of their regulars. Like, because two of them went to jail. They didn't make it. They didn't tie it up in a bow. And let's be real honest about this. They didn't tie it up in a bow like he was in cahoots with these guys as one of their partners. But if he had been alive and they could have convicted him, would they have gone deeper and then found more connections?
Even when the lawyer, I can't pronounce her name, Scallop or something, the lawyer that got him off, is very Italian. But even when she got all the documents, and in some of the documents, it highlighted he's as crooked as they come.
Yeah, people are saying that. Other people are saying that. I'm going by the legal part. Yes, we know, and this gives us an insight into him, that that he was not a straight cop. He definitely was on the other side. But this is one of the problems, and this is the problem when you said the family. Some of this reminds me quite a bit of the Central Park Five.
It's all in the same thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. Like Central Park Five, Sean Ellis, Jon Stewart case. This is a history.
Yeah, but here's the thing with this, and this is why it's important to talk about this. The prosecutors in Central Park Five are still saying they got the right guys to this day. And that this is and they're ignoring all the evidence that says it isn't. And that's why there's still people who believe that they got it wrong and they let these guys go. And that's why in this, you still see people saying they got it wrong. And the prosecutors, they don't ever want to be wrong. They prosecuted a case for, and this is one of the problems. Do we prosecute for justice or do we prosecute for victory?
Both.
But it's supposed to be for justice.
Yes, and I wish I could get the lawyer, his lawyers.
Here, I can pull her up.
Yeah, but she was saying that she kept saying that over and over and over again about the prosecution. It's like whether it's the DA or the prosecution, our goal is justice. It's supposed to be justice. This felt like a manhunt. That's her.
That's her.
Rosemary Scapiccio.
Scapiccio.
She was saying that DA or prosecutor, we're about justice. And if you don't do what's right in the name of justice, how do you sleep at night?
Well, this is the other part of that, though. This is a job. You know, when you see a DA, their rating is based on their conviction rate. So if you're based on your conviction rate, what is the goal then? Convictions, victory.
But in the name of justice.
It should be in the name of justice. There should be a different thing where somebody reverses a case or throws a case away because they see that it's not a valid case. But they don't get credit for that. They only get credit for prosecution. So this has been set up as a business, and it's not about it's not about justice. It's about victory. I'm team A, this is team B. I need to beat team B.
Now I see why justice is blind. Can't even see what's happening.
Well, thankfully, there are people that work to overturn cases. And listen, before, I don't know where you are in your notes, but I have to say this. This dude, man, to be wrongfully convicted, and then for him to have gone through the process that he's gone through, to send her a letter when he sees a case that she did, and they talk about all this in there. I don't know if I'm going too far.
No, go ahead.
And then sends her a letter, and basically says, I need your help, basically. And she's like, I can't even look at this. I see like the outline. I'm willing to talk to you, but I can't even look at this for 18 months.
And he goes, I'll wait. And then she goes, even when I do look at it, I can't guarantee I'll take it. He said, I'll wait. Like, I ain't got no choice. He's in for life.
18 months, you're just going to wait just for a...
It's hope.
Yeah.
It's hope. That's all it is. It's hope. And when you're locked up for life, it'd be different to say, okay, he got a 15-year bid. It's still a long time. Especially, look, 2 minutes in jail for something you didn't do is a long time.
Yeah. Now, and in that 18 months that he's going to wait, he's already been in jail for how many years now at this point?
Right. I don't know.
I think it's 6 or 8 years.
6 or 7. But my thing is this: even if you're going, he got 15 years, and in year 7, he has to wait another 8. At least there's light at the end of the tunnel.
You're not going to die in prison.
But when you're in there for life, you got no choice. Hope is all you got.
Yeah.
You know, let me jump ahead because again, I want to be organic to the flow of this. And I know I've said this on the podcast before, and again, I apologize for being repetitive. But again, I'm dealing with the moment as it's going. I watched this twice because again, the first time I watched it, I watched it on my own, not even planning to bring it to you to go, let's talk about this. I just saw it on Netflix and went, oh, this looks interesting. And then when I watched it, I was like, yo, I want to talk to you about this. But then because we had kept putting it off, I kind of forgot about it. So then I had to rewatch it. So when I rewatched it, and I rewatched it yesterday on the flight from home to here, and dude, there were a couple moments where, I teared up and just got angry. I just got angry because I said to myself, that could be you. That could be me. That could be anybody that's black. So even though it ain't me, I'm feeling it. And when the moments where they were taking him out of the paddy wagon and he was holding his head so far down, it was like his head could touch his knees. And the cops had to hold him up and bring him and drag him. And of course, there's the Boston mob of people that are yelling at him. Yeah, I heard one guy. And Sean Ellis even goes, I was spat on. And there were moments where I got teared up. And the 2 cops, Herreras, and I forget the other one's name, but the 2 crooked cops who were drug cops who had no business doing a homicide. But again, we'll get to this. They're covering all this up for a reason. Do you see it, Herreras?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll have
him.
Which one?
It's Stephen Bannister. Oh no, that's not him. But that's their real names, right?
Yeah.
Let me see something.
Stephen Bannister.
No. Fuck.
They might not have him in here because
yeah. Well, anyway, and this is what I said, and I know I've said this before. I get so angry that a part of me is just going, don't worry about it.
Okay.
A part of me is just going, white people are a special kind of evil. Now, again, to the white people who listen to this, and I'm by no means to the black people who listen to this, am I trying to be, I don't know if there's a right word for this, apologist, if that's even a word. I'm not excusing white people, but at the same time, I'm not trying to alienate or turn some white people off. You have to understand, and I don't know if you guys understand this, which is why I always emphasize, please watch this so that you don't think, oh, Aries hates white people based on what he's saying, which is so strong. But if you're a black person, and I certainly know that black people can identify with what I'm saying, again, you're looking at this going, that could be me. And what if I was locked away for 20-something years of my young life for some shit I didn't do? And when you think about the history that black people have gone through this, not just, again, Sean Ellis, John Stewart, the Stewart case, Central Park 5, Since slavery, black men hung from trees being accused of raping white women. We've been burned at the stake, castrated, our cut off, shoved in our mouths, hung. So there's a long history here. And I just go, I look at all that history and I go, white people are a certain kind of evil. How evil are you? But then I also go, you getting caught up in the emotions, Aries. Because if it wasn't for Rosemary Scapaccio, the white lady who is like a pit bull in a dress, he wouldn't be free. If it wasn't for who he called his godma, the other white woman who helped him, who treated him like a son, he wouldn't be free. So, and again, just like I talk about there's a history of white people who have helped black people through some of the most harshest times in their lives, in history, in our history. So you can't just paint a picture with a broad stroke and go, all white people, but I'm caught up in this moment. And then once I calm down and relax and think, I go, you know that's not all white people, because they're showing you it's not all white people. But it's very hard not to do that.
Well, I don't want to get into a big fight with you on this today.
No,
because,
you're going to give me a white perspective.
No. I'm not going to give you a white perspective. I'm going to give you a different perspective. It probably is a white perspective. I don't know. As we say that there's some evil white people out there, and I'm well able to admit that there's some evil out there. White, definitely. But you also have to, there's black people that caught him up in this in the first place. So there is some equality in evilness, is what I'm saying.
I'm not going to disagree.
So,
but the scales of balance, I'm just saying.
The scales of balance have to do with power. And so if there's more white power, it's funny I said white power, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
If there's more white power, then the scale's off. So that's what it comes down to. But I'm not disagreeing with you. And this is where, people get into arguments about systemic racism, and I know that there's a balance to this argument as well. But when we talk about the power structure and the dynamic of it, it is easier for a minority to get caught up in this system because, first of all,
it was designed to catch us in the system,
and the system is set up, like we just said from the beginning of this, for victories. So instead of looking at justice in the way that we can go, that's not just, it's about victories. Put them away. There's less people. The problem with this balance is since they're the word minority, less of, that means there's less of those people to complain when they get shafted by this justice system.
Reminds me of that great Richard Pryor joke when he goes, that's why they call it the justice system. It's just us.
But, and I don't want to make this a whine of who gets more, who gets less. But there is, we talk about it, and you say black folks, and I'm not going to deny it, but Mexican folks, Hispanic folks also get caught up in this, and there's less, for whatever reason, there is less. Maybe today the pendulum is focused on what's happening with black folks, but it's happening to all minorities, and the attention right now is on black folks. But I mean, we've talked
right
about
now.
Yeah, right.
Always been.
Oh no, but I'm talking about the disproportion of how justice is handed out. But the Hispanics don't get called out in that same thing. And I looked up. We had an argument here about lynchings, and I don't. This is not about. I don't want to make it. This one's worse than this one. I'm just saying I want to remind us to include these injustices in minority populations as it's happened. That's all.
Well, just to your point, towards the very end, I think it's also in episode 8. Everybody's in this banquet hall, and this one brother is reading vigor with much vigor. This thing about wrongful convictions, and then they start saying names, and every person's name that they say, it comes up on stage, or they show a picture of them on a screen, and these are people who have served time for crimes they didn't commit that were exonerated. So imagine this guy's like, and Phil Johnson, and Paul Bates, and Tom Myers, and each one of these guys on stage or that pop up on screen have all done 15 years, 30 years, 40 years for crimes they didn't commit. And one of the people on the screen was a white guy. So I know it can happen to other people other than us, But guess who was the main color on that stage?
Yeah, but that was also in this documentary when we brought up a lynching. The number of Hispanics, Mexicans that have been lynched is I don't want to. It's high. It's in the same numbers, recorded numbers. You can look it up as blacks in America. So I'm only saying it to say we focus on things. I want to remind people. Yes, some white people are going to get caught up in this, but the minority population is the people that are we find this to be the greatest number, and I'm only saying it so that we remind ourselves that all minorities are subject to this.
I'm not even going to argue with you on that point. All I'm saying is when you go to the history, like I said, since slavery, this has been going on with us. He raped that woman.
Yeah.
He you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it wasn't need to be a trial.
Right.
If they could say that this person saw this happen and that was enough, and that's what happened.
Remember in the Tulsa, Oklahoma City massacre murders, the whole thing started because a black dude who worked in an elevator, who was the controller of the elevator in a white section of town, a white woman came on the elevator and she screamed and said that he tripped, and when he tripped, he touched her to stop his fall. He touched her breast or something. That sparked the whole thing.
I don't even think he touched her breast. I
don't
he
either.
Touched her.
I just
He tried not to fall down.
He said good morning and looked her in the face. You know, one of the things she says, and part of how this whole thing starts is Sean Ellis has two cousins, black female cousins, who were murdered. And as one of the cops go to his house to talk about the murders, Sean, they ask him, do you know anything about the Mulligan case? Because the cop Mulligan was killed outside of a Walgreens where he was, it said he was known to sleep in his car.
Yeah, he's doing off-duty security.
Off-duty security at the Walgreens, and that's where he was killed. And Sean Ellis that night had went to Walgreens to buy some Pampers. So when the cops are questioning him or wanting to talk to him about his two murdered cousins, they just happen to bring up, you know anything about the Mulligan case? And he puts himself on the scene by saying, well, yeah, I was at the Walgreens buying Pampers. So they show where Rosemary Scapaccio says, why would you give that information? You know, you put yourself in the scene of a murder and you're a black man. Any lawyer would tell you
In Boston,
any lawyer would tell you, why would you give that information? And I just go, and I've said this before, dude, when you watch enough cop shows, Law and Order, whatever the cop shows you watch, movies, shut the up. Who doesn't know? And I've seen so many of these, not the TV shows, but the cop dramas, the made up shit, but the like First 48. I've seen First 48 where people just run their mouth. They put them in that room and the detectives talk to them and they start talking. Who doesn't know? Dude, unless you're officially arrested, if you're not officially arrested, you can go. And people, I've seen it in the movies. Am I under arrest? Nope. Well, I'm free to leave. If you are under arrest, get a lawyer. Shut the up. Don't people know this?
No, because they're scared. They're in trouble. They think they might be in trouble, so they want to be helpful, especially if you're
helpful.
If you're
to themselves or the cops?
To the cop. Well, they think that if your thought is I'm innocent, well, what do I have? What do I have to be afraid of? That's the initial thought. I'm innocent, so yeah, I'll just tell you what happened because I know that I'm not. But you know, here's the bigger problem with his situation. They're calling you. They're talking to you about your two nieces that have just been murdered. You're already in trouble. You know what I mean? There's a murder case, and they need to talk to you. Mm-hmm. That's if someone wants to talk to you about a murder case, you need a lawyer. If someone wants to talk to you about a murder case because they feel like you have information about it, you need a lawyer.
If somebody wants to talk to you about anything, when you're with a cop, you know, if you're not arrested, and that's the first thing you need to ask. Whoa. Am I under arrest? And if they say no, you get your ass out of there. If they say yes, they read you your rights.
Well, they can detain you if they want to, even if you're not under arrest. They can say that they're questioning you about a case, and they have so many hours. I think they have up to 24 hours. But I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to say that. They have whatever amount of time that their city or their state allows them to have. But you can always, no matter what, you can always ask for a lawyer.
But then they play that slick game where they deprive you of something to drink, something to eat. They know you may be hungry, and in the hopes that because you're hungry or you want something to drink or you're just tired of being there, you'll talk without a lawyer and incriminate yourself.
Prison, you don't have the rights to get a drink when you want to. So think about that while you're sitting there. Asking for a lawyer is going to make them mad, but you need to ask for the lawyer because it's to benefit you. It's for safety for you. That's it. Even if especially if you're innocent. I mean, you need it if you're guilty and you know you need a lawyer. But if you're innocent, you need a lawyer just to protect you from being in a place at the wrong time. And you don't know what they know. So if you say something is, yeah, I was there.
And they may know nothing.
And he said he was there. Now, this is the point that I brought up to Aries. Now, why was he at the Walgreens? Do you remember?
To get some Pampers.
Pampers. I've had 2 kids. And I just want to say this, man. This is where I had the problem from the very beginning when I saw this thing happen. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're at Walgreens getting Pampers, you know why you're there? You need Pampers. You need to get those Pampers back home to your kid. You need Pampers. You're only doing one thing. You're going to go in, you're going to get the Pampers, you're going to go back home because you only had 2 Pampers left that night and you thought you could get by until morning. And your kid went on a shitting spree. And now you need Pampers. You go and you get your Pampers. You're not thinking, oh, I'm going to, and as they said, I'm going to take this cop's gun for a trophy. No, your baby's at home making trophies. You need to get the Pampers at home. That's what's going to happen. And listen, I can't speak for every single person. I don't know what's in every person's mind. But if you're there at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have a purpose. And the purpose isn't, I'm going to just slide over here for a minute, get this gun, maybe shoot this guy, and then get home and change my baby. No, it's I got to get home and I got to drop these Pampers off. That was and I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You have a purpose, and that's the purpose. You're going out there. You're not thinking about this other stuff. So that was as soon as I saw that part, I was like, okay, this is going to go wrong very, very fast because he put himself here and they want him. They want someone for this. And that's the other thing. This is what I'm saying, what you don't know. You don't know what the situation is. So you might heard someone got killed. You don't know that it's a cop. They're going to look for everybody that they can because there's 2 cases. We've seen this just in these videos, but we know this is true. We all just know this is true. No one has to ask anybody. If I say this, everybody should know this is true. The police are going to work as hard and as fast to close a case if it's a woman, especially a white woman, and if it's a cop. Those cases are getting closed as fast as possible. They're going to find a person immediately. They are not around.
But there's a specific reason why they wanted this case closed immediately.
On top of it, there's another reason. But that's all cases. Anytime a cop gets killed, they want that. They want justice.
Dude, I'm telling you, it is so. And now I'm gonna bring it back not just to black people, but to your point, to anybody. It's so scary to know that if the cops want to, they can put your ass in jail for something you didn't do. And if the powers that be it the cops, again, everybody that's under that same umbrella, the cops, the judges, the politicians, because there's crooked judges. We know there's crooked politicians. That's what politics is. If they really want to keep you there, you know what? Let me not. Because there's a way that I worded this that I really want to ask you about this, but I'm gonna wait because I want to word it just the way I had it. So let me skip that for a second. So listen, there's a part in this where basically before he hires Rosemary Scapaccio, he has 2 other lawyers, 2 white guys. And at one point, he goes, the cops just keep following me. So when he goes to the lawyer's office, he goes, we look out the window and we see a bunch of cops following you. And he goes, when the cops are following you, that means they're gonna arrest you. So this poor guy attends to the funeral of his 2 dead cousins who were murdered. He breaks down crying in the church, then proceeds on the same day to be arrested for a murder he didn't commit, where he would lose 22 years of his young life. And I know some of y'all gonna roll your eyes and go, oh, here Aries goes again. But I gotta say this because I'm in the moment. And this is what I wanna ask Andy. You know, black people, and I know all people are religious, but black people, we seem to have a serious devotion to God. Where at the end of this, and I've seen this many times when guys get exonerated, what's the first thing to say when a report? How do you feel? What do you want to say? Well, I just want to thank God and Jesus for this day. And if God was who you say he is, wouldn't he stop you for going to jail for 22 years for a crime you didn't commit? Why is God great now after you've spent 22 years of your life in jail that you had to fight for? If God is everything you say he is, wouldn't he make it so you didn't have to fight? Wouldn't he make it so you don't go to jail and lose 22 years of your young life for some shit that you and God know you didn't do? And then it hit me because I'm going, I was going, Andy, what's wrong with me that other people can look past that kind of and still have the faith that God is real and everything happens for a reason and everything that happens to people is a part of a divine plan? Why can't I buy into this? When I'm looking at evidence, I'm looking at hardcore evidence. This dude's cousins were murdered. He's dressed for church. He's in God's house. Looking at his slain 2 dead cousins, only to get arrested the same day for a crime he didn't commit. The man was just in church. Faith, God, divine plan. This does that. Help me sell this to me. I'm not buying this.
Well, we don't know what would happen in his life had this not happened. But it's hard for me to do this. I'll tell you a quick story, real quick. When I was about, I think I was 9 or 10, I was in a really violent car accident. We got hit, T-boned, and the other car hit us, hit at about 45, 50 miles an hour. Never slowed down. Just hit us, and this whole side of my face was kind of like removed. Like I had this big hole in my face. They did a lot of surgery. I had something like 7,000 stitches in my face to keep me together. And my sister, she got up. The car was bent over her. It was up. My mom, and all this happened. Guess where we were coming from?
Where?
Church. We went to church, and we were coming home from church. I was looking at this little project that I made in this little Bible study class, and that's when we got hit. I'll never forget it. I'm looking at it. It's in my hand. I'm looking at this thing. It was to hold a plant. It was for plants. It was like this little Tupperware. It was like a.
So you built something for life, to help, like a plant.
Yeah.
So you built something that
and I'm looking at
create life.
And I'm looking at it in the car, and we get smacked. And my face is, and I couldn't look. Honestly, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for over a year because I looked like Frankenstein. I had all these stitches in my face, and the scars and everything stayed. It was like a year for it to heal all the way up. And it was an insecurity that I had my whole life. That happened when I came back from church. So I questioned it from that moment on. But I also realized that if you look at us, we are very small in this puzzle that is supposed to be our life. And if you believe in a life, maybe that divine intervention was something to get him so that he wouldn't be something else terrible would happen. Maybe.
What?
Listen, you might only have a moment of terrible that could ruin everything for you. And 22 years in prison, but you're still healthy. You come out and you're strong and you can leave a good ending. It's better than a moment of something that's horrific, a terrible accident that left you paralyzed from the neck down. That you only you don't have the way to function.
So without knowing for certain that's the case, you can only build up this image and these thoughts in your mind to go. So I spent 22 years of my life, of my youth is gone. I lost my entire youth for 22 years for something I didn't do because maybe something more tragic was going to happen that I don't know for sure. But that's what you're going. That's it.
That's the bet. That's all that you might have to cling on. I'm not saying that's
crazy.
Yeah, but what else do you have to cling on to?
And so you're going to cling on to an imaginary possibility to make a reason for how you got.
22 years, you have an imaginary of what you could have been. You don't know what it would have been. You don't know. It's all speculative. And listen, I would rather speculate on being free and having my 22 years. Granted, I'm 100%. But I think when you're in that position, that you're so grateful that you had your life. Listen, people go to prison, they're only going to do a few years, let's say that, and they get in a fight and they hurt someone or kill someone or something happens to them or they get stabbed and they lose, the ability to walk, whatever. You don't know what's going to happen to you when you're in there. He left after 22 years healthy. I'm not saying, hey, let's have a party because he left healthy. I'm saying for him, he has to look at it as I left healthy, I left strong, I have all the rest of my life, and I'm going forward. And up until, and this is the other thing, how long it took. It took, what was it, 8 years for this to happen?
What, the lawyer?
The Lord it took 8 years from the time they started to try to get the new trial to everything.
Right. Yeah.
So that's another 8 years. You're fighting for your freedom in those 8 years. So when you're done and you get your freedom, and you were an active participant in fighting for your freedom, I think you do thank God because you're out. You got what you've been asking for. Listen, man, it's hard for me too.
Sean Ellis said the same thing his lawyer said. Listen, there's a lot of Sean Ellises in prison, and everybody ain't gonna get a Rosemary Scapaccio. Everybody ain't gonna get free. Some people that are wrongly in jail are going to die there. So again, when you go, well, imaginary, it could have been this, and this is an intervention. Well, what about the people that don't get saved? So that's what I'm saying. If it was everybody's gonna get eventually a fair shake or justice or see a wrong turned right, then I could buy this. But to somehow be selfish in your own thought process and go, well, everybody else, I just care about me. I can't buy it when I know it still doesn't make sense because everybody ain't gonna get freed. It's not gonna end well for everybody.
No, but a lot of people that have had this situation occur and be fortunate enough that they find the right people that do help them bring actual justice and get them out of. They turn and they in turn start working for justice for other people. So they go in and they're improving the system so this doesn't happen to someone else later. I'm not saying that this is the right way for it to be done, but this is the only way that I think changes get made. And people like Ellis who do this and then make this doc is based on his life, make changes. So this change, everything that he went through might save one other person tomorrow. Or yesterday might have saved one other person from this happening to, and that may save another person the next day and the next day. So his life of 22 years, we look at it as it didn't have any meaning. His life was taken from him, but what he's giving back may be more important. I am not justifying it. All I'm saying is, I think if I was in that situation, that's the only way I could look at it, or I wouldn't be able to get through it.
Right. At one point, the Boston DA, a brother by the name of Ralph Martin. And what else I love about politicians? Of course, they all say what they need to say to get the vote. They all say what they need to say to get in the office. But it seems like once they do, the reality is the people that voted you in, they start going the other way. Because Ralph said, hey, I'm gonna be the guy to end the corruption and do the right thing and make sure the rights are wrong, the wrongs are righted, and blah, blah, blah. And I just go, but the problem is he's up against the unions, the police unions, of course, who are all the good old boys, the white guys in power. So he can talk a good game, but there's only so much he really can do. And I'm just going, how tough do you think it is for a DA like Ralph Martin, who's black, to know there's corruption within the system and the police department, and as much as you want to change things for your people, you simply can't because his hands are tied in a way, which makes you look bad, especially in the eyes of the black community, because we all think, and this is why I always said about why I don't want to throw Obama under the bus. The black community will go, man, this brother's a sellout. He ain't doing it. We think that because we got a black DA or a black person in a position of power, shit gonna change, and a lot of times it doesn't. And so we look at that black person as a sellout when it's like the reality is, it's not that they don't want to help their own people, but through this thing called politics, their hands are tied. Which is why, again, when black people went, Obama didn't do shit. Well, again, Congress, all of the white Congress, and I always f this dude, Mitch McCullough.
Yeah.
Again,
it's close enough.
Right. He said, he said, I will never pass anything through that Obama tries to do. And I said way back when, do you think that's a coincidence? So again, let me put it back to Ralph Martin. It's f***ed up because I believe he wants to do the right thing, but he can't. And that's, again, the police unions are all, and they had a couple of white cops, Boston cops, from that time period on this doc. And kudos to them for having the balls to show their faces, because at the end of every episode, they put the same thing up. These are the people who declined to be in this doc.
Yeah, I like that they did that too.
And they did it every episode, and it's of names, a lot of white cops. But these guys had the balls to be on here, but not in a good way, because it wasn't like they came on here and denounced the Brotherhood. It wasn't like they came on here and admitted Sean Ellis was wrong. They stood their ground in the name of the Brotherhood. But that's what DA Ralph Martin was up against.
Well, it's funny too, because those cops would talk about, like, hey, when we were allowed to like tune some people up and change some attitudes, the streets were safer.
Right.
But they don't understand what they were making, what they're building,
right,
and what that created, and the divide that it's made. So, yeah, man, it's that. But it's just funny because you said this. You like a couple things. Mitch McConnell. You brought him up, and I'm not even going to go with him right now. I want to go with who was the vice president for Trump? What was his name?
Oh, Pence.
Pence. So Pence came out yesterday and said that he would not, he couldn't endorse Trump. And like I said earlier, stop tearing down when you talk about Obama. You don't tear that down. You go, hey, it's easy to go, hey, Obama, whatever. I'm glad he was president, but he didn't do what I was hoping for. He doesn't hold all my values, but more power to him, whatever. The reason I say that is, listen to how Pence said that he wasn't going to support Trump. He didn't tear down Trump. He didn't tear down people. All he said was his policies, his ideas have changed, and they're not in line anymore, and so he can't represent them. Now we're talking about, this is a high profile person. High-profile Trump, and you could say he could easily, and all the things that Trump said about Pence and everything, he could have easily had turned around and just, said some. He didn't, because if you don't break that line, you hold the line, and that's where the power comes from. That's where the power comes from. It always has, and you can't keep throwing people under the bus. That's why I'm saying, man, when you have someone that you don't agree with, but they represent you in that. Listen, they'll represent you in uniform. I'm going to say that way, right. In a uniform, because I think that's what we've come down to now. We're all wearing different uniforms. They represent you in uniform. You don't have to kill him. Just say, hey, we no longer have the same views, or he doesn't represent the way that I feel this would be handled. That's why I said this. And when I saw Pence do that, it was exactly what I'm talking about. You keep your power that way. But yeah, we'll go on.
Dude, the person who I and forgive me, ladies, because I don't want to come off like I'm Ronald Williams, because I love you guys, but it was making me mad. This Rosa Sanchez. Now, granted, she was 19. Rosa Sanchez in this is the, air quotes, the witness who says she saw Sean Ellis leaning down near the car when Mulligan was shot and killed. And part of the reason why they're saying this case was tainted because one of the officers, Sarah, along with, like I said, his other buddy, was sleeping with her mother. So,
and this is the officer who brings the evidence.
And they said even when they showed her photos and said, hey, pick out who you saw that night, she picked two other people outside of Ellis. So the fact that she's picking multiple people, it should right there go, yeah, she's not, what's the word? I don't want to say competent. She can't be a competent witness if you're picking more than one person. So then they said at one point, Sarah covered the pictures of the people she picked and went, don't worry about these guys, and was kind of pointing towards, pick this guy. And then even when she failed a third time, they said, we'll be right back. They take her out of the building, have a private conversation with her in the car, and then when they bring her back to look at the pictures again, guess who she picks?
Yeah. No. Well, here's the funny part though about this. They move his lawyer at the time, whatever, makes them change
Switch the lineup.
But she still picks him. So they obviously gave some detail or something,
right,
so that she could get it right. Because
I thought that was a smooth move by his lawyer, though.
Yeah.
When he had him, yeah.
Yeah. Because he knew what was up. Everybody, this is the bigger problem. Everybody knows what's going on here. But they're still allowed to, how are they allowed to get away with this? Cops that shouldn't have anything to do with this case, and they're on this case. And that's the bigger part.
And let me point out again, the two cops, just so you know contextually how this all ties together. Again, Sarah, the other cop, and Mulligan, all dirty. And they want to have Ellis arrested and shut this thing down as quickly as possible, because if they don't, they risk getting exposed. Mulligan's already dead now, but then Sarah and his other partner risk getting exposed. So this is why they need Sean Ellis to be arrested and have this case shut down. Otherwise, they're going to be exposed as crooked cops.
And this is when they find the weapons, though, too.
Yeah.
That they're after you. They want to get you. And you hide the weapons under some leaves across the street?
Yeah, and I got to say, the whole weapons thing, that looked bad. That was a bad look.
Well, the bad look is that his girlfriend's
fingerprint. But you see what she said. She said, they took my fingerprints. And all of a sudden, my print ends up on the gun?
Yeah.
So again, that's why I'm going, dude, this is scary to me. That if they want to you, and now let me just jump ahead since we're on that, and then go back. So even though she got resistance from all the top agencies, and just put this. So once Rosemary Scapaccio became his lawyer, she had to pay like huge amounts of money and go through all these hurdles to get paperwork that his first lawyers should have had. The documents from the FBI, from this agency, from that agency, and a lot of her calls weren't returned. It took months and months and months. She had to pay all this money. And I just went, even though she got resistance from all these top agencies, but ultimately got the documents, she needed to free Sean Ellis. If the judge and the powers that be wanted to keep him in jail, just because what ultimately can stop them? And my question is, what really can stop corruption if it wants to stay corrupt? What really stops it? If all the people at the top tier positions went, nah, we want to nail your ass and we want to keep you in jail, what really can stop them?
First of all, you said if all the people at the top. I don't think it necessarily has to do with the top anymore. When corruption is so rampant, you can't stop it even at the top, because they will just I look at it as like a big ball going down a hill. That ball will come running over you because it is so corrupt. How do you get past it? And I'm not saying our system is that corrupt yet. It's pretty close, though. It's pretty close a lot of times. When power gets used in a corrupt way, I don't know how you're supposed to stop it, because listen, what I said going back to the beginning about the judge being careful not to overstep her bounds, so that they're basically not eliminating the case of the district attorney. But when you allow them that you have to be that careful, and they can do what they want. Like you talk about this paperwork that they couldn't get. His other attorneys were very competent and put a lot of effort and a lot of work into it. The only reason he fired them is so that he could get
Rosemary.
And they knew that they needed to make some changes. She went and she had some more experience with this. She knew she knew how hard it was going to be, and she worked it. But they were by no means a law team. They did a good job.
Well, she was just better than them.
She was better than them, but she knew what she had more experience with it, knew what she was going to have to do, knew what was laid ahead. But it was underhanded how much she had to go through to get this. You would think that it's all open. We think about, all the information we can get a hold of, but how much information can't we get a hold of? We talk about how much you got to Google it. How much can't we Google is the bigger question. How much can't we get a hold of? How much don't we know? How much of what we know is what they want us to know?
And if the powers that be, that's what I'm saying, if the powers that be don't want us to know and don't want to give us the access, that's a scary thought, man.
Listen.
I go, thank God there's some Elliot Nesses out there. Because if everybody's Capone, we're f***ed. But if the judge if this happens to be the judge, and remember, in his first two mistrials, the judge kept going, no, keep going. Like they want, it's like even the judge wanted to see him burn. But thank God this judge went, all right, despite, what I'm saying about the cops, he did get a bum trial. Something doesn't smell right here. So thank God for a Rosemary or a judge like this, or like even in the Sean Stewart case, his own brother basically saved the black person's ass by coming forward going, yo, my brother was on some foul shit. Other than if it ain't for the good of some human beings with good hearts and good minds, dude, yeah, corruption, we're
Yeah, if there is enough corruption, I don't think that you can beat it. I don't know how you beat it. You get lucky, you find, when to find out that what was the first cop? What's the cop that got killed? Mulligan. Just to find out that he had any connection. Do you know remember how much papers they had to go through just to find one connection that relates him to those other two cops?
Yeah.
And without all that information, without getting all that paperwork. And you know what they do? When they don't want you to find something, but they have to release information, they give you more information than you can ever go through. And so you're going through all this information looking for something, and it could be more than you have time to get through. It's just the way that the system is set up.
Well, even his godma, she said, I know there's got to be something in these papers. And she was helping.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. The good of certain people. She was helping, and she was like, there's got to be something in these documents that tie Mulligan to this crooked shit. And she went, and she said this. She goes, I just went, as much paperwork as this is, I just had to suck it up and go through it again. And then she found it. But as you're going too much in the hopes that someone goes, dude, this is too much. I can't go.
You just miss it. You're just going through it and you're trying to get through it and you miss it. So this is part of the, okay, we're not going to give you all the information. Okay, now you want all the information. Okay, here's all the information. Here's everything we got.
In hopes that you get discouraged.
And you miss it.
Oh, God.
But you said like what information isn't out there too, or I said that, and then you agree with it. But and whatever your feelings on Elon Musk and Twitter, and which is now X, I love saying that because that's how it's been. I don't know how long that it's called X now, and they still say Twitter, right, or X, formerly Twitter. If he doesn't buy Twitter, you don't see how much of the DOJ actually was giving directions. I shouldn't say just the Department of Justice, FBI. I think it was mainly the FBI was giving directions on what they should and shouldn't put on Twitter. So I mean, it gives us no matter what side you're on this, the fact that that's being done, it should give you pause. Your ears should perk up and you should take a listen to what's going on, because just because you don't like the person that it might have been not in favor of, doesn't mean that tomorrow, as we watch these cases, there's people that you are going to be in favor of, and the same thing is going to happen. This should never have been that way. But and I love using Google because that's the one people use, but it's not always about what we can get to. It's about what we can't get to and what we don't see and what they don't want us to know. And who is they? That's another question, because I don't know who they are. They are the people we don't want them to know, that they don't want us to know.
Are these the boogeymen?
Yeah, I think in a sense they are. When you have that much power and you can move things around to work for the whatever you want to be said, and you know it's so funny too because you think, I think that most people think that they're on a side. They're not on a side. They have agendas that they want to happen because overall it works for them, but it's not a side. We have to be a little bit more. This is where it gets tough because this is what I was talking to you about this the other day. They have purposely put us in uniforms. They want us in uniforms so that we fight with each other. Because if I'm fighting, you know, just the way you even said white people, and then you went back and you said how this and this and then these, but they want us fighting. The more the ground forces, the people on the ground, just the people on the streets, are fighting with each other. This upper management is running wild. And as long as they keep us in uniforms and we're fighting against it, we're doing the fighting for them, which is just to keep us on this street level. And they're running the things the way that they want them, the way that they see them, the way that they need it to happen. And until we smarten up and we start working together for a better place, because we're supposed to all be on the same team, but they gave us different uniforms.
Right. Well, go back to Rosa Sanchez. So it was just, you know, when they were playing her testimony and the way she just kept, is the man responsible for killing Mulligan in his home? Yes. Yes. And again, I know she's 19 and just like you said, you're scared, you're this, you're that, but it's clear that she's lying. It's clear that she's a part of a cover-up and she knows it. And I was mad, dude. I was like, I want to punch this in the face.
But you don't know what else they have on her or what she perceives that they have on her. Because, okay, as you're mad at her, his own buddy, the guy that started off with us, said that he had something to do with it too from the very beginning. Remember? Yeah. So whatever the screws are that people can put to you in these positions, and this is where it starts. The corruption starts when they can use something against you to give them the answers that they want. Not the truthful answers. They didn't ask for the truth. They asked for the answers that they wanted. And if they have something against you, or you perceive that they have something against you, they can get the answers that they want from you instead of the truth.
And when you talk about, again, you remind me about putting the screws. His girlfriend, they said that the prosecutor basically said to her, look, we know you got a kid. So if you don't testify, we'll take your kid. That's illegal. And on top of that, she's a kid. So she, again, playing on the fears of a kid. We'll take your kid if you don't. So you got to testify against your boyfriend. That's what I mean when I go, dude, it's illegal, it's wrong, it's corrupt. Who can stop this? And the fact that no one can, that's scary.
Credibility is the only way to stop, and you have to put credible people in position. And how do you do that?
But by that time, you're in jail for 22 years.
Yeah, I have no way to. There's not one argument that we can have that you're in jail for 22 years beats. There's not one argument that I could give you that beats that answer. There's no reason anybody should be in prison for even one day if they're illegally. So, and again, my problem isn't even his 22 years. My problem is the people that can't prove that they're innocent or whatever, and take a 6-month plea or take a deal for a year, and you go to jail for that, and then you get caught up in some in jail, and now you're in jail for 5 years, and in that 5 years something else happens, and now you're in jail for 15 years. Now they just made it so that you're staying in jail. It doesn't make a difference to me if it's 6 months or if it's 22 years, actually, because if they want to, if the system decides that you need to be in there for 22 years and they can only get you for 6 months, I'll take the 6 months now. We'll see how long we can get that stretched out for.
I wrote this question because, again, his first 2 trials ended in a mistrial. How many times can they try you before they go, enough's enough?
It's up to the DA, and that's another problem.
And this is why I'm going, what's it? There's something called, they made a movie on it with Ashley Judd and Tommy Lee Jones, Double Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Where what is it if
you're found guilty or innocent? They only can try you the one time.
The one time, but in a mistrial,
they keep trying you.
Keep going and go until they get you.
Well, usually it works in the defendant's benefit because you know what the prosecution's case is. But in this particular case, what they said is they were going for too much, so they scaled it back, and that's how they got him on the third one.
Well, and the funny thing was the white lady. They interviewed two people, a white lady and a white guy, a white lady from the first trial and a white guy from the second trial, and both of them were basically saying the same thing. Based on certain testimony, they were going, we weren't, at first if we were like, yeah, guilty, but then we were questioning. And they said by the time they got to the third trial, the prosecutor made adjustments.
They got rid of all these other things.
All these other things. And the one lady from the first trial who they interviewed, one of the jurors, she got emotional, and because she was like, the fact that we know a young man's life is in our hands, that never goes away. And then she goes, when he was convicted in the third trial, I knew one of the jurors. So I called her up and I said, we need to talk about this. Based on what the testimonies and based on everything that you saw and heard, how could you convict him? And the lady responds, how could you not? And then she goes, well, what about Uncle Dave? And she goes, who was Uncle Dave? So they left out Uncle Dave's testimony in the third one so that they could do what they needed to do to get him.
Well, they figured out that testimony and some other testimony called into question other parts of their witnesses. And so they removed that. So now there's no question.
How is that legal?
Well, it works the other way. A lot of times, and most of the time, because the prosecution is going to come with their whole case, and the defendant then knows, their lawyers know what the prosecution has and how they're going to come at the case. They can form a defense against them in a mistrial that works to the benefit of the defendant, usually. But this case, this is one of the things where you said corruption, when it gets this bad, how do you figure it out and how can you get ahead of it? And he really couldn't. It took someone else to get ahead of it. These cases, though, how many are there? And there is that whole, what I forgot the name of the, there's a whole group, there's different law firms that set up these actions to go after the Innocent Project. That's one of them. And they take on these cases, but they have to meet these certain guidelines. And sometimes you might be innocent, but you don't meet the guidelines. So you're not getting these cases.
It's just that, oh my God. It reminds me of that there's a great line in Malcolm X, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I know the line I want to get to. Delroy Lindo, before Denzel becomes Malcolm X, the civil rights leader, when he was running the streets as Red and as a pimp, and there's a moment where after he meets Delroy Lindo's character, he basically says something to the extent of, yeah, man, I didn't want to go to the army. And Delroy Lindo says, trust me, when they're waiting for your black ass, nothing can keep you out the army. And that's what I thought of, because I'm going, if they want to get you, they'll get you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that, to me, is the scariest notion. If they want to get you, they will get you. So you just have to hope that there are some, like I said, some Elliot Nesses out there, some good people that get put in the right position for you at the right time so you don't meet that fate.
Well, there was a female, I don't know, cop, sheriff, whatever. She just got, I don't know if she got suspended or fired, but she said basically she got, if we're driving 100 miles an hour, get out of the way, we're the police, we can drive 100 miles an hour. Just get out of our, I think she said, way. I think they beeped it out. And then she said, listen, and then when we're with you, she goes, if we want you, we're going to get you. We have we're going to find something. We will find something. There's nothing, if we pull you over there and we want to get you, we'll find a reason to get you. And she got relieved of her duty for saying it. But she got relieved of her duty for saying one thing, the truth. She didn't say, they didn't say, well, she's lying and we can't have liars out there. No, what she got fired for was telling the truth.
And she got fired. The truth will set you free. That bitch is free now. And then remember, there was a moment where Sean Ellis goes to talk to another guy who was wronged by these same cops. And remember, he was the guy that was like, yo, when I got out my car, they put a gun to my head.
Yeah.
I thought I was being robbed. Cops said, give me your keys. They took him to his apartment, ransacked his whole apartment looking for money. Was it money they were looking for?
Money, yeah.
Because he didn't have drugs.
Yeah, it was money.
But when they took him to the station, the not Sarah, but the other cop pulls out a bag of Coke. And he goes, you see this? Tomorrow morning when you go to the judge, we're going to say we found this. And again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I went, wow. So if they want to say you had Coke, you had Coke.
You have Coke.
And you're going to jail for what could be a 15-year bid. I'm telling you, man, that's a nightmare to know that kind of power is out there, and if you could fall victim to it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
With great power comes great irresponsibility.
But hey, man, what I was going to say is Aries told me about this. And when he said, hey, man, I really want you to watch this. We really need to talk about it. And then I said, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll watch it. Sounds, whatever. I thought it was whatever. And I go over, and it's 8 episodes. And I thought this was going to be another one of these episodes. And Aries and I do this. We have a different taste. So when we see episodes, and one of us is telling us to watch it, we're like, the mother going to give me 8 episodes. Man, I'm telling you, these episodes, I didn't want to stop watching. I wanted to watch all 8 right then. If you have the opportunity, and please take it if you can, watch this series, man. It's a doc, but it's not like the way they did it and how it goes, how they go through it, and how they piece it together and how they tell the story. It didn't feel like 8 episodes.
Well, I got a couple more notes real quick. So they said at one point to Sean Ellis, they go, if we'll give you, okay, so look, in this 4th trial, he runs the risk of, if he loses, he's going back to prison for the rest of his life. And this is it.
Oh, yeah.
So they basically offer him a deal where they say, we'll say time served if you admit that you killed the cop. What would you have done? And of course, Sean Ellis says no. He goes, I'm not, I'll risk going back to jail for the rest of my life, even though while he's awaiting his 4th trial, he's free now. He's out on bail. So he's tasted freedom. He's after 22 years, he's tasting freedom. And the thought of, if I go to trial and lose, I'm back in jail till I die. So do you take the deal where time served, you're not gonna go to prison, you're free for life now, but you gotta admit you killed the cop, even though you didn't?
Man, that's a tough one, isn't it, though? Because I'm out.
You're out. And once you taste freedom, you want to go back? Hell no.
But, man, that's a tough call, man, because you're out.
You're out.
I'm already out. Now all I have to do is say this.
And no matter how much you believe your lawyer is, and you got all this the right way now is going to get you off, it's still a gamble.
Not only, okay, but here's the other side. If you say it, and you're out, the focus on you now is how to, and I'm sorry, this is the case. And listen, before I finish this, I want to say this. There are great police out there. We need police. If you have a problem tomorrow and you have to call someone, and I know there's black people out there that are going to say, man, we're not calling them no matter what. But
there are some that will say, I'm calling them motherfuckers.
Yeah, because police are needed. There are times when you need that cop to show up, and there's people that do a great job.
The majority of them do.
So I'm not trying to, but I go back to that thing. A one bad apple spoils the bushel or the bunch or the barrel or whatever you want. Whatever it said. Yeah, one up everything. But I'm saying that so that I guess can say this. If you say, yeah, I did it, and now they say, now you said you did it, now you're free. What is the focus now? How do we get him back in jail?
Right. And even once exonerated, that still might be the focus.
It might be the focus. But when you say I did it, but now I get to go free, you just threw it in their face. I did it. Thank you.
Right.
So I don't know that that's a win. You're out, but for how long? Then I think then the clock starts ticking again.
But let me double down on this. Once he was finally exonerated, his lawyer says to him, do you want to sue? And I'll help you with that if you want to sue the police department and blah, blah, blah. But just know that if you do that, shit's gonna might be even rougher for you. So it's like, take this with no Vaseline for 22 years. Then when we exonerate you and we still don't admit in the press conference that you're truly innocent, on top of that, don't sue us for no money, because if you do, we on your ass.
Well, here's the other problem with his case, though. He didn't get exonerated.
Listen, the press conference, that was like
Yeah.
one of my last notes.
Yeah.
During the press conference, they say basically, yeah, you're exonerated, but this is no admission of true innocence.
Well, yeah, they didn't. The DA decided not to bring the charges back up, so it ended on a mistrial. So there's no exoneration. There's no admitted of guilt. It is just over. And to what happens now, to this day, if all of a sudden someone found some new evidence and they felt like they had to bring this back, the DA could still bring that back to this day, because it ended in a mistrial. So if some evidence, if someone in prison said he told me he did it, and they could make it credible. They could make that credible to where the DA goes, I think we have enough now. We could go back. Now, in all likelihood, that's not going to happen because the DA already, has passed. But DAs get replaced. So if a new DA came in,
that's crazy.
And the new DA found some evidence, and the new DA might have had, I'm not saying a connection, but maybe some family connection to somebody who was tainted in this. Yeah.
It's funny. There was one point where all these people, I don't know if they were running for mayor or governor. Remember when all those people were running to be elected for the city of Boston? I can't remember if it was the mayor or governor, but some powerful position. And the person who ends up winning is Rachel Rollins, black female. She's the new, Betty, DA. She's the new DA. They were running for the DA. She gets appointed Boston's new district attorney.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And of course, part of what her whole thing was, and I love this, there was a moment where they were doing like a town hall, and this one white kid asked something about a black person who was killed in the city of Boston. And the white guy says, sir, I'm really not sure I know how to answer that. And she jumped in and goes, I do. And so she gave all the right answers that the black community needed to hear. Quietly, she's going to be a champion for us. Yes. And at one point, as she's moving into her new place, the new police commissioner of Boston, black guy, last name Gross, Commissioner Gross, you see them together and you get the sense, again, black commissioner, black female DA, black people, we gonna be all right in Boston. So when they hold this press conference, this coon-ass nigga, he gets up there and basically says, and by no means, even though Sean Ellis is exonerated or whatever, set free, it's being done so because of this, not because he's innocent. And I just went, you coon-ass nigga. And it was disheartening because I'm going, so we get a black police commissioner, and your stance is what a lot of black people's stance sometimes is when in positions of power surrounded by white folks. I'm gonna do this little tap dance so my black ass don't get in trouble or I stay good with the folk. And then even when they show after Rachel Rollins wins the DA position, she's on the local news and the guy asks her, and they show a clip of her before she won. So, you said all this stuff, blah, 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 about Sean Ellis and justice and all this. Well, now that you've won, how do you feel about the Sean Ellis thing now? Will you pursue? And the answer she gave didn't have the same kind of confidence and flair prior to her winning. And this, again, goes back to what I said. To get your vote, to gain your confidence, they act one way. But once they get in, they play politics as usual. And I just went, that's so disheartening. We got a black commissioner, we got a black DA, and they got their tap shoes on.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you because I felt the same way when I watched it. But they do have a job to do, and they have they have an agenda that they want to succeed at. And if you're getting what you want, which is him free, and you say that so that you can have access to maybe pursue some other goals that you have, maybe some other innocent projects or some other agendas that you have that are benefit the community that you want to benefit? Is it worth it? I'm asking you because I'm just saying, do you get more out of it because you weighed your answer and you didn't exonerate him, you didn't come off, but you came out and you got what was necessary, but now you have the ability to affect the community in a different way that maybe would be harder had you not done that.
This to me feels like that Abraham Lincoln. Say what you got to say to get into position, but once you do, then you help the people.
I mean, I don't know how else sometimes, because politics is...
But as long as you help the people, then okay, fine. But will you help the people?
But the problem I have with what you said and what you're talking about with this person is when he said it, he could have said, listen, I just want everybody to understand. He could have said it like this. And this is where, like, is this just you don't say it the way that other people want you to say it, but are you saying the same thing? Yeah, you're saying the same thing. But if he would have said, I just need everybody to understand that we did this because of these situations, this does, you don't have to say, I would like to say unfortunately, but he could say, this doesn't exonerate him, but it does release him, and this is where we are today. And I would have left it, you didn't have to say it as, but the way he said it was like, we're letting a guilty man go. That's how he said it.
And as a black Bostonian, if I'm a resident of Boston, knowing the history, I'm going, well, that doesn't feel like you're on our side. It feels like you got to deal with the unions, you got to deal with the politics, and to keep your ass in a good position, you're willing to us.
Well, but we all politic a little bit. I'll never forget this, and this was early when we were all probably going out for about a year on the road, and you took me over to Ruth Chris, and you were wearing your baseball hat, and you said they might make me take this thing off. I hope they don't make me take it, because you said your lineup wasn't right, and you didn't want your hat off, and so you went in and we sat down. Everything was looking good, and it's Ruth Chris. It's Cleveland. Which is
and they're gonna make me take my hat off.
Yeah, and there's no one even in this. The restaurant's not even, that restaurant's not even there anymore in Cleveland. But anyway, we go in, we sit down, and there's not a black person in sight at this restaurant. And out of nowhere, in this blazer, this manager comes over and tells you that black dude comes over to tell you have to take your hat off. And I looked at you and I go, that dude was working in the kitchen. That blazer didn't even fit him. They sent out the only black dude that they had in this, and this was a political movement at this this moment. He could have said, no, I don't want to work here. I'm not going to go tell that black man he has to take his hat off and Ruth Chris when no one's in the building, because we were early. Because you eat early, you won't eat late. And no, he came over and he did what he had to do and said, hey, man, yeah, I need you to take off the hat.
Hey, brother, he didn't give me none of that. Hey, brother, look at man. I'm just doing what they tell me to do. You know what I mean? If it was me, I had my hat on too. Shit, I got another baseball cap. He didn't talk to me like that at all.
But we all politic a little bit to get through the day, man. We all, unless you're sitting up in a high nest, we all politic.
But if you politicking like that, and which again is disheartening to your people, given the history of Boston, then where's the hope? How do we feel safe?
He still let him go. He's still alive. And I'm going to say it this way because this needs to be said this way. He still was one of the people that allowed him to go home that night. And I needed to say it exactly the way I said it. Allowed him to go home that night. They didn't find him guilty. They didn't find him innocent. They allowed him to go home. Do you think that Ellis is sitting up every night mad at him for saying that, or is he at home in his bed happy? So I'm just saying, we took it personal. I took it personal.
I took it personal.
I took it personal as well, but I understood. I still understand. Sometimes maybe he. They said, say it for. We need it. We need it forceful, so we don't, because we need to uphold the laws of this, and we don't want people taking it that they can just come in here and do something and get off. I'm not. I don't know what was said. None of us know why he did what he did. I wish we could get him on the podcast and ask him the question. But politics is part of life. And to what area you ascend, your politics changes and how you have to approach it. But politicking is something we all do. When our boss asks us, hey, man, do you think this is a good idea? And we're like, we don't give a either way. But, it benefits you to go, yeah, man, that's a pretty good idea. And some people are looking behind you, go, that idea ain't that good. Or isn't going to benefit us any. But you say it because you're politicking. You are improving your situation because it helps you.
The big moment where he gets the ankle bracelet taken off, and the judge just goes, "All right, good luck to you, sir." It's like, goodbye. We f***ed you for 22 years, robbed you of your youth, put you through hell. You get the ankle bracelet taken off, and it's just, all right, good luck to you, sir. No compensation. Good luck. Goodbye.
No, because you weren't exonerated. This is the other.
That's crazy.
And that's the thing that's really funny about it. You're not exonerated, so you have no right to sue them because you weren't found innocent. So they never placed you in prison illegally. You weren't found innocent.
I don't know if this is me doing too much, and you'll tell me, but I just wrote after she said, "Boom, good luck to you, sir." I just went, and this is why I think black people hate that slogan, "Make America Great Again." When the has it ever been great for us? Black man arrested for 22 years, he didn't do, frame, partly because he's black, gets the ankle breaker taken off. Good luck to you, sir. No compensation. That's a history with us.
Yeah, and I get why that's also twisted in a way too, because other politicians that had been Bill Clinton used it for a long time, and and Bill Clinton was proclaimed the first black president by other people too.
Black people, well, we got to stop.
Okay, so I'm just saying it depends on who's delivering that message. Because when Trump delivered it, it's never been good for us. When Clinton delivered it, he plays saxophone and he wears sunglasses on MTV.
And cheats on his he's the first black president. He's a black man.
So, I'm not, listen.
It's interesting that you say that because we were going to mention it, but the clip where Trump said at the rally, black people love me because I have a mugshot and I've been arrested. And a lot of black people were insulted by that. But
rightfully so.
Okay, but then the flip is Bill Clinton's first black president because this plays saxophone, smokes, cheats on his and
doesn't inhale,
but
smokes weed.
So why is one okay and not the other?
The message, it's who's delivering the message. Listen, you know what? And I'm going to say this just because I want to throw it in. As someone who walks through this world in a white way, when Hillary Clinton pulled out hot sauce from her purse when she was I was embarrassed.
Which was more embarrassing, the hot sauce or when she went to a black church and went, I's pretty tired, my feet is weary. Started talking like an old black bitch named Southern black named Beulah. Which is more embarrassing? I'll take the hot sauce because I can understand hot sauce.
I'll take the hot sauce too, but I don't want either one of them because one, she embarrassed herself
with the hot sauce.
No, she embarrassed herself with the church.
My feet weary, I'm tired of March.
Don't forget. No, I'm not going to make this about Hillary. I'm just making it about.
If it's about your point, make it about Hillary.
No, because it's not about my point. Because it's just my disdain for her. Because who she? Just never mind. No, because I don't want to go there. I don't want to do this right now. Yes, but we're all. But isn't that again? That's some bad politics. But she's politicking. I carry hot sauce. My feet are weary. I mean, it's sometimes I take hot sauce and put it on my weary feet just to spice them up a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say that. But listen, and I will say there are more black people who see that wink wink than not.
Yeah.
But there are black people, we eat that up. We eat that up. She says that like that and the black church claps. So are we to blame too a little bit?
Yeah, but who's to blame? Trump is to blame on this one because listen, if he would have said it this way, and it's such about the details. I think I never was so into the details because I hate it when someone says it's not what he said, it's how he said it. I hated that. I hate when my parents used to say it's not what you said, it's how you said it. Go to your room and think about that. And then when your dad gets home, someone's getting their ass beat. Okay, so here's what he should have said though. If he really wanted to make that point, he could have said, You know why black people can identify with me? Because I have been wrongfully accused. I've had my mugshot taken for no reason. I've been held by all these DAs and wrongfully accused of crimes I didn't commit, but they're bending the law to make it work against me. If he would have said something like that, that's something that, like on what we just saw, this documentary, people could have gone, I understand how that.
Right. So it is how you say it.
It is how you say it. It is how you say it. But even though I just said that, if Trump still delivered it that way, Trump is the wrong messenger for that. But it would have made people take a little pause and go, hey.
But if he said it that way,
Yeah.
would they have held it against him because he's the person?
You still don't like him because he has that, you know, he has that. He's tainted, man. He is. Listen, I would love to be able to, like, I wish Trump was the guy that I could get behind, because I would like to go, hey, remember 3.5 years ago when Trump wanted to end TikTok, and he came out and he said it and everybody just accused him of being anti-Chinese and he's a racist. And now 3 years later, quietly, they've been doing this thing with TikTok about how we're going to ban TikTok. Trump wanted to do it before it was a problem. Now people are trying to get rid of it now, and people don't want to let it go. And it is a problem. And now Trump sided the other way. So now he's very, like, now I don't even, people, now the confusion is even more so. But he was right. And he's been right about a lot of things, but he's the wrong person to deliver the message, because he's wrong about how he handles things, about how he says things. And I think the bigger question right now for me is, and I'm sorry we brought this back into politics. I'm sitting here going, Trump or Biden? Trump or Biden? Is that really the question? Should the question be, why is our only two choices Trump or Biden? How did we get into this position? That's the bigger question for me. How is this our two choices? And I'll take Kennedy over these two. But now that's a long shot, because now we have Kennedy has some weird ideas as well, and we don't know him because they haven't all been vetted out, because he hasn't been allowed to participate in the system the way that he should have been. And he's right. He'd be a write-in candidate in some places, or maybe he'll get in on his independent on all of them. So his chances of winning are minimal. How are these our choices? We have this country. It's supposed to be built on these freedoms and these great ideas, and we have all these people. It must be the worst job in the world to be a president, because no one worthwhile wants this job.
I think this thing. I'm shocked that this thing wasn't made into a movie.
It will be. I almost could guarantee it will be a movie.
I was thinking, if this was a movie, who between these two, because these are the only two women I could think of. Because again, Rosemary Scapaccio is such a character. I mean, she is a pit bull in a
But
dress.
she's the reason the movie might not get made.
What do you mean?
It's going to be, if you use her as the key, she's the white savior again. They're not going to make any more white savior movies right now.
No, but if this is about how this really went down,
it has to be about the system.
Okay, but I'm thinking, and you tell me, I went. There's only two women who I could see possibly playing her. Tell me which one of these two who you think is the better. Melissa McCarthy, and I know the comedy might get in the way of that. Like, you're thinking her, because we know her more as a comedian. I think she did one dramatic role, but her or Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh. Melissa McCarthy.
Over Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, I really think that she has the ability to do a serious thing, and I would love to see her get the opportunity to do that, because I think she is. I just like her. I like her on screen. She has, when you talk about it.
Yeah.
She has that it thing.
She's so adorable and cute as a personality. But again, when I think of her, I think comedies.
Yeah, so do I.
But the reason why I say her was because, listen, I'm going for the Rosemary Capaccio when she was younger.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But she's a big chick now. She's big. So I was thinking of Melissa more for the physicality of it.
Well, not only that, but I think she does have the ability, because listen.
But let's be. Rosie O'Donnell has that, cuntiness, that butchy, and not that Rosemary was butchy, but Rosemary's Italian from
Yeah.
And Rosie just has that tough.
Yeah, but she always has that tough face on. The thing about her is she's a nice lady who gets tough when she needs to. And that's what I think Melissa McCarthy can do. She can bring that in there. She has there's something about her that I think is going to make her a great actress if she ever gets the part. If she gets that part, I think she takes it to another level. I like watching her. She is funny, but there's a realness to her funny in everything that she's done.
Right.
And that realness, I think, can translate over. And I hate to say it like this, but all women have that little. When women are mad or women feel injustice is happening, they have that thing that comes out of them. And if she taps into that,
I love it when Sean Ellis said, the powerful thing in my life has been women, because whether it was he said my mother, my godma, Rosemary Scapaccio, it was women who basically believed in me and got me off. But let me get back to the Melissa McCarthy thing. There was a great moment in this documentary.
But you didn't say who you thought.
I'm gonna go with Rosie O'Donnell, man.
I don't think there's a wrong answer in those two. I think they're both. But I
love how adorable Melissa McCarthy can be, and how likable she is. But there's a moment in this doc where, remember when Rosemary was cross-examining the cop, and he basically says something to the extent of, yeah, when Sean Ellis shot and killed, and she goes, were you there? Were you there? And he kept trying to go, but he did it though. And she kept grilling it. Were you there? You weren't there. So you saying he shot, you weren't there. And at one point he made some sort of like medical comment. Are you a doctor? Are you a doctor? To the point where the judge went, all right, you two, because she wouldn't let him off the hook and let him speak, and he was mad because she wouldn't let him speak. Finally, at one point, he went, hey, let me talk, let me answer you. But the way she just kept hitting that, I went, she's a pit bull in the skirt, man.
You know who else?
That's why I saw Rosie.
You know who else I think could do that part? And it's not someone you like, but I'll tell you who I think could do that part. She might be a little too short for the part. She was on Mad TV with you.
Alex Bornstein?
Yeah.
Too short.
Too short, but you should see her character that she plays in the Fabulous Mrs. Maisel. She has the ability to be funny and serious and angry and all those things all at the same time.
Really?
I know that there's some issues there.
No.
But you are.
Let me tell you something.
When it comes to talent,
of those issues, that's why I could see her do it.
Okay. But I was going to say, because of talent,
right?
This is what I love about you. And I people need to hear this, because I love this, and I love to get to say this about you, because I said this to someone the other day. It doesn't make a difference what history you have with someone. You can put all that aside for talent.
Oh, absolutely.
Talent reigns supreme with you on everything. And you could hate the motherfucker, but if they were bringing the right piece to the puzzle, you stand up for talent.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people know that. That's awesome, because and people should know that, because when we've had small discussions about Corey on this a little bit, and you're like, you start with the same thing. I think he's funny. He's such a funny dude, and then you go then you can have your personal problem.
Listen,
with
if
it.
I'm doing a project and you are right for it, I don't give a if you my mother in front of me. Let's go to work. Shit. And then for the black guy, I thought of to play Sean Ellis. And I'm saying this only because he was so goddamn good in that movie with Clint Eastwood, where he too went to jail for something he didn't do and was on death row. Isaiah Washington.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he the one that got in trouble, though?
Yeah, from Grey's Anatomy for, I guess, those dropping the F-bomb.
Yeah.
And, he got in so much trouble. His career was never the same. Well,
because he doubled down, though, after he got in trouble. He just didn't get in trouble. He went back and go, well, I f***ed up the punch. Let me stick my dick in it.
There's some niggas from San Francisco that go, I'm on the punch. Yeah, man. So other than that, my last thing is this. And again, they had two white cops who at the time of that situation were in this doc. And all they did, of course, was defend the brotherhood. And I just thought to myself, old white men from that era, they all need to die. Just so the power die. The structure, they need to die.
It's a cultural, let's talk about culture a little bit here. We all have culture that we come up in, and that's part of their culture. And, we talk about cultures as like an oppressed culture. We defend it and say, well, they did this because they've been oppressed. Well, there's the other side of that coin. They're doing something because that's what they know is what they determined and what society at their time made them feel was the correct way to do it.
And listen, the further you go back in their history, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying they need to die so that we put an end to this. But then I thought to myself, well, does it really die because they do? Because it's taught, it's
handed down. It's
handed down. So even though they're dead, chances are their offspring will continue that horrible legacy. That
culture needs to be removed of where you. Well, it's gone. It's there. We're fighting the end of it, but it's gone because, and this is the upside, but the downside. That's why a lot of people don't want to be police now. That's why police don't get the respect that they do deserve because, like I said, I said, most of them are good police officers, but because of the culture that had been established that's pushed back on now, people don't want to have anything to do with it, and it's perceived as negative. And because of that culture is going to die out. It has to, because first of all, the people that were doing policing aren't going to do policing again because they can't do it the same way. So like you just said, their kids is handed down. People who followed in their father's foot, it's changing. Their parents don't want them to be police anymore because they can't just beat up people because they want to. There is still a lot of that old school that was that way, where I've heard people, you tune somebody up, like, okay, I can't get you for what I know you did, but let me beat your ass here for a few minutes and then I'll let you go, and then you can go to the hospital and, get fixed up. That was policing at one time.
And this is going to be wrong to say because you can't have it both ways, but I don't love the term tuned up. But I'm not opposed to the beating of someone if it's deserved.
But the problem is that who gets to make that decision is if it's deserved.
Common sense should.
It should, but this is...
You raped a little girl, you're going to get tuned up a little bit.
But this is where I go back to what I've said before in this podcast. Dirty Harry movies, Clint Eastwood was the beginning and end of this, because this is where people they said, well, the system is rigged, and it's rigged in favor of the criminal, and we can't get him. And then Dirty Harry comes along, and he just puts a couple 45s in someone, and you go, yay, he got the bad guy because they couldn't get him. And then that's where the pendulum went that direction. Now the pendulum has to come back the other direction. The pendulum, we would like to stay in the center, but we never get it right. We're always one or the other. And that's what's happened. But people were excited for a Dirty Harry. But now we're looking at the situation where everybody wants to be a superstar. Everybody wants to be that television guy. You don't think that these cops, when they're in these situations, sometimes they hear the music in their heads?
That's funny. You know what's funny about that? One of my favorite TV shows that I still watch religiously on Hulu, NYPD Blue. One of my favorite characters, Dennis Franz's Sipowicz, Andy Sipowicz, because he would beat asses from time to time that deserved it. But that music to NYPD Blue, that especially the ending, and I'm like, yeah, they hear the music, and he's beating somebody to that because it's very aggressive, right? I love that. You don't think they hear the music? That is hilarious. Beating somebody's ass to the fucking music.
Yeah, you hear it in your mind, man. The credits are rolling, and you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Dum 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 dum. Right. Dum dum. Right. That's the one too. Yeah, man. Shit. You're right though. It's like if you beat one person, you got to beat them all, and all of it ain't just.
No, and you don't have right to. The individual doesn't have the right to hand out the justice. That's the bottom line. We know where that goes. If the individuals get to hand out the justice without a system that's rightfully done and in place, then it's anarchy, and it's going to be, it's the villager's choice then, and that's not the way this is supposed to be set up. So, but we sold something in the late 60s and early 70s that we couldn't get the bad guy anymore, and that's where this turn happened. The system was rigged against the good guys, and listen, there's some good people that are going to get over, and there's some bad people that are going to get away. And that's part of this. That's just the way the world works, man. You know, and in a way, I get kind of irritated because we have to justify all this. Listen, some people are some it's going to happen to good people, and some good is going to happen to fucked up people. And if you don't think that that's part of nature, then go watch Mutual of Omaha, and go see the gazelle that was just trying to hang out with its family, and the lion eats it. And no one's saying, well, that's wrong. You got to keep those lions away from the gazelles. No, that's life. we have to figure it out the best that we can. We have the ability because we are human and we are supposed to be a little bit more intelligent, and we've worked our way through this, but we are still basically animals, man.
Dude, I love that. You don't think they hear the music? That is great. I just see a suspect sitting in a room, swollen and bloodied and battered, almost unrecognizable. And the police chief says to the cop, what are they doing in there? I heard the music. Oh my God, that is hilarious. I heard the music. That's it, man.
Let's give out some dates. I tried to save you guys a half an hour to tell you to go watch it, but Aries wanted to get into it. I'm glad we did, though. I'm glad you made us stick the landing. It's good, guys. Seriously, I would check it out. And I like most of the stuff that we actually talk about, but this one really had I don't know. It was really well done and gave you a little.
Yeah, and there was another thing that Andy had me watch. One is called, what was it called?
I don't even hear.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Because we were gonna try to combine this with White Boy Rick, which is another.
It's the actual doc. The White Boy Rick, not the movie.
Not the movie. White Boy Rick, the actual documentary, along with
American something.
You got it? Oh, I thought it was called American Nightmare.
I think it is American Nightmare. And that's actually interesting too. I thought that was pretty interesting. And also, no, I'm not gonna get that far. Let's see, where are we right now? Oh yeah, man, we're recording this while we're out in Cincinnati, Liberty Township area. It's been pretty. We had 2 good shows. The Friday late was okay. It was all right.
Loud,
but
drunk black.
Yeah, but the first show was great, and the second show I liked it, but I think she drank more when you were on stage. But next week we're going to be at March 22nd to the 23rd. We're going to be at the Funny Bone in Virginia Beach, man. Come check out that show. I always have fun in Virginia Beach, man.
I you know what? I do like Virginia Beach. It's what's the other one? Richmond. That one.
Well, I like Virginia Beach, and 2 things I like. One, I like it for you, because there's a bar after the show that is a smoking-only section, and it's
the Irish pub.
And Aries loves to go in there. You don't even have to smoke a cigarette. You just go in there and inhale.
It's pretty thick. Because it's cigars, too.
Yeah, and everybody is just smoking their ass off in that room. But what I like is that the club isn't, and I think I've said this a couple years ago, the club isn't set up like a good comedy club. Good comedy clubs are low ceilings, tight sound, and this place is 2 stories with a big hole in the middle, and it still feels really good in this room, so I like it. Virginia Beach, Funny Bone, March 22nd to the 23rd. Then we're going to be March 29th to the 31st in the Funny Bone in Columbus, Ohio. And then, guys, one night only, April 5th, we're at the Parker in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. April 11th starts our Canadian tour. April 11th, we're going to be at River Cree in Enoch, Alberta. April 12th, we're going to be at Grey Eagle in Calgary. April 13th and 14th, we come back to the States. We're in Syracuse for a couple days. That's April 13th and 14th, Syracuse Funny Bone. April 15th, we're back in Canada, Dartforth Music in Toronto. April 19th to the 21st, come back to the States real quick. Improv, Cleveland, Ohio.
Aries, do you need anything?
Yeah. I think they changed that to the Funny Bone, actually.
Really?
I think it's Funny Bone, Cleveland. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's, I thought that was one of the ones that were changing. April 27th, we're back in Canada at Bronson Center in Ottawa. April 28th, we're at the Olympia in Montreal. April 30th, we're at Bella Rose in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then May 2nd through the 5th, we're back in Portland. We're on the West Coast. We haven't been back in a while. I'm going to stop by, see my kids. real quick, and 3 theater dates in a row. May 9th, Meyer Theater in Green Bay. May 11th, Wilbur in Boston. That's almost sold out, man. If you want to go, I'd get your tickets tomorrow because it's the last few. May 18th, we're at the Hulu Theater in Madison Square Garden. Listen, New York, I'm just going to be straight with you. Boston's kicking your ass in tickets, man. They're killing you. Percentage-wise,
but again, Boston's not as big as...
It isn't as big, but they're still outsold you. It's only a few days different. Get your tickets, New York. Stop around. I know you got plenty of time, and you think it's a big theater, and the tickets are going to be there. You go get those tickets. We need to know that you're coming. We want to know that you're supporting. We've got enough of you in New York, and we want to see some tickets go up, man. Go get your tickets. This is the big deal. We're coming back to New York. I'm there, but Aries is coming back home, man. Go get your tickets. He's never left. He still has his butter Tims on. He has his New York fitted, and you guys aren't supported. Get out there, get your tickets.
Nah, I mean, son. Did you tell him hit like and subscribe?
Oh yeah, get that like and subscribe button. Let everybody know. Let your friends know. Blow up this podcast, man. Let people know.
All right, y'all. That's it. You know what we calling this one? Just trial 4?
Yeah, trial 4.
I really wish we could call it Hear the Music.
How about we call it trial 4 and then small letters? Can you hear the music?
Why not just Can You Hear the Music?
Okay, can you hear the music?
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this, it was hosted by Ariesspears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button Podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit spearsburgpod.com.